Good day, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. And today we have a new guest with us. His name is Babafemi. We call him Bamo. And he's going to be introducing himself so that I don't miss anything out. He's just going to do a brief introduction about himself, what he's doing currently, and he's going to tell us a lot about admission process and how to secure a full funding and full scholarship, as you might call it, for your PhD program or your MSc program in the United States. And so we'll be focusing on agriculture this time around. So we'll be treating other courses, but today we'll be discussing agriculture. And our guest today will be helping us out on what is needful for agriculturists, or if I say farmer. If I say farmer, I know there are a lot of, we have agronomy, we have plant science, we have agri-economics, we have extension, but I'm classifying all of them at the same thing as agriculture, so don't mind me. So over to our guest today to do a brief introduction before we go into the business of today.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. My name is Olufemi Babatunde. An indigenous of Oyo State, actually from Ibadan. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in animal science at Purdue University in the US here. Actually came in for my master's first, and then I just continued on to the PhD program. So that's what I currently do. I'm a research assistant. I work with chickens and pigs for now. And, I'm married, doing fine. So, I know, that's it.
Okay, so thank you so much for the brief introduction.
Thank you.
So, right now, I want you to help us to enlighten us about, okay, what are the steps you took when you were seeking admission abroad? What are the challenges that you faced during those period, and was it a smooth ride? And what are the things you did back then that was able to help you and to transition very well and get a full funding for your master's, then for you to later move on to your PhD? So,
permit me to give you a little backstory.
Okay.
And actually, that backstory is one of the main reasons why, I decided to do this.
Okay.
So, I feel like for the Faculty of Agriculture, or as farmers, as you called us previously, I feel like there's not a lot of information out there that we even have the potentials to, come abroad to study on a full scholarship. I don't know if it's the notion that, agriculture is usually seen like a second option, probably after you have tried to go in for medicine or engineering or every other thing, and you just wanted to go to school, like, okay, what's the easiest place to fall back on? Let's just do agriculture. So I don't know if it's because of that notion that some people already have from the onset. They don't have their sight set on any opportunity that is available. In fact, you may not even know that the opportunities are available. I felt like it was quite unfortunate that throughout my period, University of Ibadan, studying animal science, I never heard that I had the opportunity to actually, go out of the country and actually study on a full scholarship. I never heard of the word GRE, throughout my undergrad, till service and afterwards. I only heard, after I had finished serving, and I was already doing other things. I was into business, and then, I just heard about it. So I felt like if I had heard the information, a long time ago, I would probably have worked towards it. I would have planned properly, I just felt like that information was not there. That mindset was not there as compared to the folks in, say, engineering or the folks in, other faculties. So if there's someone watching this video and you're a farmer, I'll tell you that's the first thing I'm going to say, that you can actually get opportunity to come study in any country, even in the US, on a full scholarship. It is very possible, and they are looking for students that are ready to, work harder and do that. So let me just that's the first thing I'm going to be saying. So as I mentioned already, I had no idea of the word GRE until I finished seven. Um, my brother actually was the one that pushed me to um, even consider it at all. So I finished with the first class from the University of Ibadan, but I just put my certificate aside and was, doing other businesses and all of that because, as I said, I had no notion that I could even use it to do, anything other than, at the very worst, do a master's in UI and, just continue from there. But he pushed me to talk to somebody. Who just mentioned to me that, oh, you can actually don't allow your first class to go to waste. You can actually, apply to the US, like, really, you can do that? How, And then he told me about GRE. So usually the first step for anybody considering studying here in the US would be to do GRE. I usually advise to do GRE. I also advise to do TOEFL or IELTS, any English-based exam, although the school, Purdue, that I am in, was able to waive that English exam. So all they required was to get a proof of being taught in English language, English proficiency, which I collected from UI. So I didn't get to do TOEFL or IELTS. I just did the GRE. And so if you're thinking of coming for a program, you definitely need to do the GRE. I think you should aim for 300 and above. I feel like that puts you in a very good position to be competitive. I would also say that you don't have to be deterred by not having a first class. Even with a 2-1, you can definitely get into a program. I recently learned from a friend that anybody that has a 2-1 from a Nigerian university has the potential to, get into a program. So that you don't have a first class is not a deterrent. Even with a 2-2, if you do very well in the GRE, sometimes they look at the circumstances and feel like they can give you a shot. So that opportunity is open. Um, and so for me, I may not have the necessary conventional tail. I'm sure if you speak to other people, they'll tell you that they, have been planning, they knew the number of schools they wanted to send applications to, the number of emails they send. I didn't have any of that because, as I said, I didn't have a lot of information. The guy just told me about GRE, and I said, okay, I'll study for it by myself. So it's possible to study for yourself if you are serious and, get it done. Or you might go for classes if you feel like you need coaching to do it. So I studied by myself. Funny enough, usually on the day of the exam, you're supposed to like have a couple of schools that you want them to send you. I didn't even have any school. I didn't even know any school, So as I go to the center for the exam, um, and then I saw people talking about the schools they wanted to sound like, what school? What are you talking about? Like, you send like, the results to a school. So I called the person that introduced the GRE with me to me, and like, um, what school? What school are they offering animal science? Just give me any school. Let me just tell me something. So the guy was like, I don't know your course, but so he just gave me a couple of schools off the top of his head. Purdue, um, what's it called? Texas A&M. I think he just mentioned like any random school. Funny enough, two of those schools didn't even offer animal science. So it was just Purdue and Texas A&M. So, those were the two schools. Like, I just had to put something down there. Like, okay, just send it there. I'll go and find details about the school much later. So after the exam, I did okay. And then I began to look into the school. Like, okay, so I actually picked, these two schools. What do I want to? What do I want to do here? Who do I want to mail? So most of the information I was getting was after I'd even done the exam. Like, okay, so who is in this school? And then I began to mail a couple of professors. within those two schools. I didn't even go outside of those two schools. As I said, lack of information. If I'd known that, um, would actually check any school and then have them send the result to that school later, maybe I'd have expanded my horizon. So definitely, I would advise that you should check as many schools as you want. Look for. Um, Usually, there's a ranking for your program online that says, for your particular course. So, for example, I'll be using animal science. So, if you Google top schools in the US offering animal science postgraduate programs, it gives you like a ranking of schools, from like 1 to 100. Usually, I would say you should avoid the first 10 because they might be too competitive or something. Like start from 11, and go downwards. So, but I mean, there's nothing stopping you from trying the first 10 also. There's nothing stopping you from trying the first 10. So um, my school was definitely on the ranking. So um, if you are looking to do that, you can try that way. Look for a couple of schools, have an idea of, the course, the area, because usually each department usually have like subsections. So there's an area of specialization, which some schools offer, some schools don't. So I was interested in animal nutrition, which Purdue had. So that's what I focused on, schools that had strong faculty in animal nutrition. So I mailed those professors in that area um, at Purdue and at Texas A&M. And so I didn't get any response from the professors. So sometimes that happens, being in the system now, I understand now that, those professors are busy. Like 1 million people send them emails every day. So they can't possibly open every email, that comes in. So, that can be frustrating if you're outside, sending emails and you're not getting a response, like, but you don't give up. You try to be persistent. So I was actually talking to one of the professors that I sent emails to then that I didn't get a response. But now that I was in, I talked to him. I was like, sometimes we get all these emails, we are not able to, open all of them. But he has noticed that students from Africa like are not very persistent. That usually if you try to send an email and it doesn't work, you can also try to give a phone call. Sometimes that works because their office numbers are usually there. But I think maybe because of our mentality from Africa, we feel like I don't just want to call somebody that, I don't know, like just badging on the person, but sometimes that works, and then if the person has an offering, is able to say, okay, I do, probably should do this and do that. So sometimes giving a phone call also works. That's why their office numbers are there so that I can try. I mean, I'm not saying you should disturb them with phone calls. I'm not saying that, but you can just try that. Sometimes that's all you need. So I did that. I sent emails. I didn't get a response. But lucky for me, I got very strong recommenders. So I applied, even though I didn't get a response. I applied because those were the only two schools that I already sent my results to anyways. So I applied. But I think I was just lucky enough that one of my recommenders from the University of Ibadan um, knew one of the professors there, or professor knew him. So probably they communicated, like, do you know this student? Da 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 da, and then he recommended me, and so that's how I got the offer. So it might not work that way, for other students because um, they might not know your recommenders. Your recommenders might be someone that nobody even knows. So that might not work that way. So I may suggest that you get something first from a professor before applying, because usually the way the system works is that if nobody's interested in you, they're not going to take your application. And you would have wasted money applying, you'd have wasted resources. So try to make sure that before you actually apply, you get a response from a professor. So send as many emails as possible and send over 500 emails. Doesn't matter. You probably get 400 no's and you just need one yes from somebody that says, okay, I'm interested, do this and do that, and then you can apply. Usually that gives you a greater chance of getting admitted. So lucky for me, I got admitted as for my master's, and then I got an offer for a research assistant to work with my advisor. So that's how the whole story went.
Oh, wow.
Hope I didn't say too much.
that is that is quite interesting.
Yeah,
That's quite interesting. Some people will say that method does not work for them, but
yeah,
but not the reason why we are doing this is because it is not one way you can get this thing. What worked for Taiwo might not necessarily work for Kende. So
sure.
but from many people's experiences, they can gather that, oh, this is what can happen, this is how
Yeah,
you get funding, and you shouldn't lose hope that, okay, you try it this way, it doesn't work, you need to try it another way.
yeah.
So that is that. Thank you for the experience and sharing how you what you went through. Actually, I was even saying lack of information that we have had information even before we graduated, it will have speed up things than
Precisely.
what you
I
are.
wasted I felt like I wasted my service year, if you ask me, because I feel like if I had the information, throughout my service when, we're not doing so much, I had time to prepare for the GRE, probably done the exam, sent out emails, because usually during your service, you have like a lot of free time.
Yeah.
If you are teaching, you probably teach in the morning, and in the afternoons, you're just doing whatsoever. But if you already have that information, you have a goal, you have what you have set your mind to, you can use that period to send out emails, because sometimes it takes a while, sometimes it takes a while, but that time period, I feel, is a very good time. But usually after service, once you begin to do other things, it's usually more difficult, especially if you get a job, you get married, it's usually more challenging, to begin to write exams at that point, or send emails, or keep up, things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing I want to ask is, what are the materials that you put together, like we will say application packaging for Europe,
Mm-hmm.
now? What are the
Mm-hmm.
application materials that you put together when you were submitting your application? Those
Application.
tools that you consider
Yeah.
to the application look the same, or were they different or something? What are the necessary things for a
Yeah.
master's student and for a PhD student in animal science?
So usually, criteria are the same for both the master's program and the PhD. For the PhD, you probably need to have a master's. I'm talking based on my own experience. You probably need to have like a master's degree, to apply for the PhD. It's possible to also apply with a bachelor's degree, but it's usually more difficult to get into a program with just the bachelor's degree. For some other areas, it might be much easier, but for agriculture, I think usually if you have a master's and then trying to apply for the PhD is better. And then if you have an undergrad trying to apply for a master's, that works. So for my application, for Purdue and for Texas A&M was pretty similar. So you definitely need a statement of purpose, very important. You need to write something that depicts your person, that depicts your interest, your passion. So definitely a very good statement of purpose. Um, I wouldn't say that you necessarily have to make it perfect, because sometimes a couple of months ago, I looked at my, statement of purpose. I'm like, what did I write? What was this? Like, I felt like I could have done way better, but it is what it is. So for a particular stage that you're in, the more you grow, the more you get better. So it can never be perfect. Trust me, it can never be perfect, but you definitely want to put out something good, something that shows your character, that shows your passion, that shows what you're interested in. Doesn't have necessarily have to have big grammar or lots of huge words. Just something that helps the person to see who you are. So definitely a statement of purpose, a good GRE, which was part of what they required. Recommenders, both require 3 recommenders. So I suggest that you use 3 people that can talk about you very well. For some, they do the online process where the recommenders actually feel the, um, what they want to say about you online. Others require a letter. I would suggest that if they require a letter, get your recommender to write something tangible. I don't know if it's an African thing. Usually, when you tell them to write a recommendation, they just write you four lines and that's it. You need them to write to show that they actually know you. They should write something, long and that shows who you are. But if it's the online, it's also fine. So 3 recommenders. What else? Definitely your transcript from the university. I think those are the major requirements they asked for. So they wanted the transcript, they wanted 3 recommenders, they wanted a statement of purpose, they wanted
GRE score.
the GRE score. Some schools ask that you write an essay, like a diversity essay. Um, Purdue wanted that, but Texas A&M didn't want that. So I think I wrote a diversity essay that just shows that you're used to working with people from different parts of the world. Or I mean, for Nigeria, we have people from different tribes that behave differently. So you've been able to show that you can work well with people from different areas. That also works. So those are the things that I put together. So there was nothing out of the world. I feel like the major work is actually getting somebody to be interested in you. If you can get somebody to be interested that says, okay, Femi, I think I'm interested in working with you, go and apply. The rest of the application is just for formality's sake, in my own opinion. But definitely having all of those things, ready, and in place is,
Thank you.
will work. So,
yeah. So, and lastly, the question I want to ask is based on what you said last, and for people that might be listening to us right now and might be interested in animal science or other cultural related courses, what would be your advice to someone to be able to get a professor to be interested in him or her?
That's a big question. That's a big question. Really, I can't say that there's any one particular thing that you can do that gets anybody interested in you. The challenge is that, these people don't know you before. Your name probably sounds funny. A lot of them might not be able to even pronounce your name. So, I mean, there are lots of challenges already from the onset. But I feel like if you're a Christian like me, definitely you want that to be one of your prayer points. To get somebody to be interested in you. But I think sending out mails, first of all, get people that are in your area. I don't know if I won't call it a trick, or one thing that I tried to do was, usually in a lot of universities, they're African professors. Sometimes the African professors on the faculty. So usually I try to reach those African professors first, because I feel like, okay, they understand where I'm coming from. They can probably pronounce my name a little bit better. So usually they want to give a shot to people that they feel like, okay, they're from Africa, maybe they will do well, things like that. So usually those are my first targets. Afterwards, I send mails to American professors, and then maybe people from other places. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to get, if you send emails to Asian professors, it might be challenging sometimes, it's just what it is. But You also send, I wouldn't say you should not send, you also, give it a shot to try and send mails there also. But really, I think just constructing an email, don't let it be too long. Nobody has time to read an essay from you in your email. Just introduce yourself, put your strong points forward, and then put in your transcript. Usually, sometimes, if you can get your transcript converted to like maybe with a West translation or something that makes it easier to understand for an American, that may work so that the person knows that, okay, based on the 4 points grade, this is what you have, and then your statement of purpose. So usually everything you think you might put in your application, maybe your statement of purpose, your CV, or I didn't mention that before, definitely your CV. You want to put in your CV, your transcript, just set all of it together and then send it out. As I said, um, you might try a lot of places and maybe not get a lot of yeses, but you only need one yes, truly. If you send 500, if one person says yes, that's all you need. You don't need more than one. So, and then sometimes it's just timing, sometimes those professors don't have funding, so they might not respond to you. But I feel like train your nets wide open. You get a chance to snatch at least one fish. If you're not able to snatch a lot, you snatch just one fish. So that might be my advice. That spread your net wide. Um, some people advise that you try historically black universities. Those seem to like accept a lot of African students. Sometimes like give you better shots, being that is a black university, so definitely you can try those also. But I think just opening your chances, can give you a shot, and then don't be too narrow-minded. So even if it's animal science, usually we can adapt to a lot of areas. So I can say that, you can broaden your scope, maybe not just stick to just animal sciences, and try something in the environment, in environmental sciences or even biological sciences. Just if you feel like you just need to spread open your net a bit more, definitely go for that. Yeah. So that'll be my advice.
Thank you so much. And to our audience, you've heard it all. All you need to put together your GRE, statement of purpose, transcript, if possible, conversion to West. You can do the free conversion first before you do the
Paid one.
money conversion. Then you can request for a waiver for English test, or you get from your university, and contact a professor and get a good recommendation. And hopefully apply to as many as possible. Just don't limit yourself. Don't cut short yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the leg and before the whole thing works out. So just try as much as possible to spread your application across to everywhere that you think you have chances of getting in, and hopefully you'll be able to get what you want. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Comment below, ask questions. If you are lost, we will be able to give answers to those questions. And I want to say thank you to our guest today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I appreciate you. And that will be all for today.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.